This is the exciting news. We've been working on this with the with Tabula's team and the whole nLight group and our engineers in Calgary. This product here should have some components that look familiar to you. Most importantly, the two nLight ports, which are net contributors to the nLight power on the bus, 40 milliamps, just like you would expect for any nLight enabled luminaire. There's a contact closure in. We can talk about that later. And then on the other side, there is two DMX ports, which can be configured as outputs or inputs, but out of the gate, they are configured as one that sucks in from a lighting control system like DMX console, and the other one that sends it out to the rig. And in between, vignette DMX snapshots that can be merged in with that or take priority over that or sit underneath that lighting control. On the other side here, you'll see the Ethernet jack, which happens to be power over Ethernet. So if you have a power over Ethernet switch, we will suck power from that and add it to the nLight network. Beyond commissioning, if you're not using the Ethernet, the Passcape connectivity, you could just plug in a 24-volt supply here, and it will operate autonomously. nLight network, which you guys know and have known for 10 years. And we have the DMX network in green here. So no surprise, any sort of DMX console can control any sort of DMX luminaire, and nLight controllers, including the Eclipse, wall pods, occupancy sensors, photocells, and nLight enabled luminaires, power packs, they will meet at this device. But some of the things that I want to demonstrate to you today is how the controls on the left-hand side can actually control LED luminaires, and how any sort of generic DMX control will be able to control nLight enabled luminaires and profiles. So the first time you guys will probably get a chance to play with this is we're creating a demo case, a small Pelican case that can easily fit in an overhead compartment. And when you open it up, there's going to be a little panel at the top that has 16 RGB lights, and they generally are going to be used as DMX color mixing luminaires in your demonstrations. But if you dig in a little bit deeper with Passcape, you'll be able to RDM those lights because they're all RDM responders. And the lower panel, we have a glass that you can see through into the guts. I'll show you the guts in a second. There's the vignette wall station. There's an nLight wall station, which has a 2P and a 2S with a DX on it. There's two nLight ports, so you can plug in an Eclipse or an NCOM kit or an nLight enabled luminaire. There's the connection here to go to Passcape. You can use DMX in if you're not using streaming ACN from some sort of offline software. You can plug in real 5-pin DMX. There's the extension for the contact closure, and of course, you just plug it in. Behind the glass, you have your NPW GW. You have your VIA-8 power over Ethernet switch, which is going to control power the vignette you saw on the last page, and it's going to power this device, the NPW GW. And then to drive a white light, we have a solo drive that's connected to a Neo and a white light LED constant current so that we can do nice dimming down to 0. And of course, the power supply that has to be in there somewhere. So this is what it looks like fully assembled. So going through a couple of the different control scenarios that you could go over with this case. So let's just take a look at the demo case. We're going to open it up here, and looks like Star Trek. And inside is the gateway that the whole case centers around. One of the very important things we talked about was commissioning. A lot of the contractors may be their first experience with DMX enabled luminaires. We want to make sure that they get a data minus and data plus right and all the rest of it. So without them opening up any software whatsoever. We wanted them to be able to wire it, power it, and test the system. So to that avail, we have put a test button right on the DIN mounted device, and you could just grab your finger if you could reach. I had to go with a little screwdriver here. I press the touch button once, it's a toggle. It takes all of the luminaires, DMX, all 512 slots or all 2048 slots, and ramps them up and down. And it also makes every nLight device curtsy that is on that nLight group. And then you press the button again, and it gets out of test mode. So let's have a look at what Vignette can do for you if you haven't used Vignette before in an RGB system. So we're going to show you some sort of out-of-the-box scenarios that you can do and then control from an nLight wall station. Using the upper left, I've built here a red, a green, and a blue slider controlling all of my DMX lights in unison. They're all patched differently, but it's red, green, blue, red, green, blue, red, green, blue. And I love that purple look, so I press and hold a button, and I have snapshotted it. I'm making air quotes, and I run it, and you can see. So if I take a bit of green and a bit of red, I can mix a warm. I find another free button. I press and hold it, and there we go. And then I just do a little test. Yes, that looks lovely. So now we've got that, and here, switch channel 1 on the nLight station from the nPod M is actually doing the DMX fade through the NPWGW, so you get nice refresh rates on the DMX and things look smooth and pretty without any popcorning. So the other thing is you might have a much more complicated scene. So if you had an ETC console, a Jan's console, a Champs's console, a Grandma console, or a Cognito, you might want to plug that thing in, and with your fully patched DMX rig, plug in your DMX cable, bring up a Christmas look, red, green, red, green, red, green, press and hold to record, and then let's do another one. We got the school colors, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red. I press and hold to record, and I seem pretty happy with that, so I'll unplug my console. I'll put it in the closet. It probably won't even come out till the Christmas pageant. And here's my nPod M crossfading between the school colors and that Christmas scene. So that's, even though there's just 2 DMX ports on the device, it is doing 4 universes of streaming ACN. In many venues, the architectural control system is often going to be running the architectural looks 24/7, but there is a stage in this cafetorium, and somebody, probably a senior student or a theater arts person who is capable to run a DMX lighting console, could come in, take over the stage, and then pack up and go home. And you want the architectural control system to automatically come back in. Here we have a facilities manager turning on a warm wash, or not a warm wash, a color curtain on the stage. The DMX person comes in, does a razzmatazz show, beautiful musical, dance, rave, whatever it is. And when they're done, they turn off their console and it goes back to the architectural look. And we press the button and it goes to dark. So the nLight wall pod, or the occupancy sensors, or their photocells, as you guys know, you can use SensorView to build these combinations of photocell channels, occupancy sensors. We may want that to control a DMX single snapshot look. Again, maybe the curtain warmers, maybe the banners in the top of the cafetorium, but it simultaneously wants to control the nLight enabled luminaires that are above the cafetorium. So I've grabbed an nLight enabled luminaire here. I am going to now grab my nLight network, plug it into the gateway, and I am going to press a wall pod, and you can see I bring up the Christmas look and I bring up white light. I fade out the Christmas look and the white lights fade out too. And the last demonstration I'm going to show here is the DMX console that controls both the nLight enabled house lights above the audience and the DMX stage lights. So once you go into a performance situation, you want to relinquish control to the lighting board operator. They want to be able to do that call house to half. Everybody puts their programs down, sits down, stops murmuring, house out, stage lights out, curtain opens, first lighting cue, which is all DMX, goes on stage. And not until the end of the show should the house lights come back up, but they should come up operated by the lighting board operator. So here is a Cognito, and again, house lights are on. I have the curtain warmers on. Just to show, I'm going to use this slider. I fade down both the DMX lights and the nLight, and at the end of the show, I fade them back up. So those are the demonstrations that we can do with the demo box. I didn't get into things like the contact closure, changing priorities. I didn't do anything with occupancy sensors. I think you guys can fill in the gaps for that. But a lot of the times people want to know, what's this thing going to look like on both sides? So on my screen here, I have nLight sensor view in the top left corner. And you can actually see, here is the device. There's my NECY. Under port 1, I have my nLight gateway. It's now appearing in sensor view. And I'm going to compare that to down in the bottom right-hand corner where we have Passcape running. So if I expose this nLight here, I can, I go in and I expose and I look at all of the output channels and the equivalent output channels, and you can tell because it's the blue nLight going to the red pathway pointing to the right, and there are my 16 output channels. It's kind of like an ARP panel. And there's also the input. So I go to the wall pad screen, and in Passcape, I will open it up, and now we have the red pathway arrow pointing to nLight. So this is vignette controlling wall pods. And if we highlight these things, we can see the 16 of them. I could go into sensor view as a commissioning agent, and I could do this in either direction. But if I say, okay, this is now the Frank channel, it synchronizes across the network. And if you're hooked up like I am here, you can see bingo bango, the label Frank comes in. So now on both sides, we know how we are connected. And there is also a bank of 16 scenes. There's a third icon for that. It's the pathway red pushing the blue nLight scenes. And we have a bank of 16 scenes, which can be local or global, and they could be levels or they can be profile scenes triggered by anything on the vignette side.